What's going on, everyone? Today we'll be taking this bike out for a test ride to test the top speed, pedal assist levels, and how the rest of this bike performs. This is the Heybike Cityrun e-bike, which has a 500 watt motor and a 15 amp hour battery. I did make a video a few days ago going over all the specs and my thoughts on this e-bike so far. So if you haven't seen that video, check out the link in the description, watch that, and then come back to this video to see the rest. Yeah, so this is definitely a beach cruiser type of bike. You have a real upright sitting position and the bars are pretty high up as well. As you can see right now, I have the pedal assist off and it's definitely a very easy bike to pedal. Honestly, when it comes to e-bikes, commuter e-bikes like this one are definitely some of my favorite bikes to ride. Don't get me wrong, I like riding fat tire e-bikes. They're fun to toss around and have fun with. But when I want to go out and go on a regular bike ride kind of experience, these are the bikes I love most. This is a commuter style e-bike, but the tires are a little fatter than usual. Typically on commuter style e-bikes, you'll see anywhere from a 1.8 tire to like a 2.2. This one has 2.5. So it's still on the smaller side, but it's kind of in between a commuter and a fat tire. But it works very well. You don't have that drag, but you also get a lot of cushion and still that commuter kind of style ride. So 2.5 seems like a nice compromise for a bike like this. As I said earlier, there is no way to completely turn this bike off, which kind of bothers me. When it's off, you just see on the screen like you do now the word off. But even though the screen says off, it's only the motor and the controller that are off. Everything else still has power. So if it was night right now, I'd be able to turn on the headlights. My horn still works. My turn signals still work. Everything still works on the bike. Everything still has power running to it, but it's just the motor itself that is off. So there seems to be no way to actually turn off and shut off power to the entire bike. I guess if you wanted to turn it off completely, you will basically just have to remove the entire battery. So that does bother me a bit because even though it says off, power is still running everywhere. And then to have the LCD on all the time, that obviously takes some power as well. So it may not be a lot of power that is being drawn, but if you store this bike away and leave the battery on it for 2 or 3 months over the winter or something like that, it'll definitely add up to be a significant amount. So hopefully they come out with a fix to get that resolved, because that's definitely not normal e-bike behavior. I do hear the brake calipers rubbing as I ride right now, but I didn't have the chance to adjust them, so most likely I just need to loosen the caliper and reposition it, and that noise will go away. So if you hear that noise in the video, that's what that's from, but it's not really a crucial problem. Almost every single e-bike that I receive has that problem until I make that final adjustment with the caliper. Before we jump into the rest of the video, I just want to give a big shout out to Exter for sending these over. Personally, whenever I'm out riding my e-bike, the last thing I want is to have more things to carry. With the Exter wallet, I can ditch my full-size wallet at home and bring only the cards or IDs I actually need. These are a lot slimmer than regular wallets and can easily store up to 12 cards. You just put all your cards inside, and when you want one, you simply hit the switch right down here, and just like that, all your cards pop out. Beside this, the wallet also has built-in RFID protection to cover you from data theft, and they even have a tracker so you can track your wallet from your phone and always know where you left it. The one I have here is their aluminum wallet in brushed black color, but they also sell a ton of different styles and colors as well. If you are interested in picking up one of these, I'll put the link and promo code below. Yeah, so this is definitely a very comfortable seat that pairs with this bike very nicely. It's a nice and plush seat. I do wish this bike had some sort of seat post suspension, as I like to ride bikes that have both a front suspension and a seat post suspension. It just makes a more plush and comfortable ride. But thankfully, you can get something like a Sun Tour bike seat post for about $100, so that's an easy fix. Just swap the post out and you'll get immediately more comfort. All right, so let's go ahead and test out the pedal assist speeds on this bike. Right now I have it on pedal assist 1. I don't feel like it's doing much, so maybe it's supposed to push me at about 8 miles per hour or so, but at casual pedaling, I really don't feel it helping me much. So let's go ahead and step it up to number 2. Starting to pick up a little. Now this feels like what pedal assist 1 would feel like on most bikes. Looking at about 10.5 miles per hour is maintaining. Let's go ahead and switch it to number 3. See, right now this bike has the torque setting of the pedal assist set to high. So as soon as I clicked this number 3, it was a nice quick rush that pushed me forward, and I'll probably turn it down 1 or 2 notches because it is a bit too sudden. But nice to know it does have that power though. And like I said before, you can go into the app and tune this bike's motor to give as little or as much torque as you want it to. All right, so on pedal assist number 3, looks like it gives you about 13.5 miles per hour. Had to adjust my seat a little. I realized I was riding a bit too low. Now that I hired it up some more, it's definitely a lot more easier and more comfortable to pedal. So let's go ahead and switch it to pedal assist number 4. Starting to ghost pedals. Let me shift up. Looks like number 4 is getting me about 16.5 miles per hour. This is likely the speed that most people are going to ride this bike at the max. Obviously people like me are going to want to push it a little higher and go to a top speed, but for most people 16.5 is going to be the max, or maybe even too fast, because the styling of this bars, like I said earlier, is not as easy to maneuver and quickly react, I think. So the most comfortable riding position will probably be right here on pedal assist number 3. This is like the perfect faster e-bike speed, but also still a comfortable e-bike speed. All right, so let's go ahead and switch this to number 5 and see what we get on the highest pedal assist speed. Very cold now, especially once I started going faster, feeling the wind hit me. There is a small bit of delay. Once you hit the brakes, it shuts off the motor, but once you start pedaling again, there's like about a 2-second delay before the motor actually turns back on. So that could be good for some people, but for me, I would personally prefer if it just clicked back on a half a second, or at most a second later. So pedal assist number 5, pedaling casually, looks like we're getting about 19.2, 19.3 on average. Let me go ahead and switch this up to gear 7 and pedal this a little harder and see what the top speed is we can get on number 5. There's a slight hill there. All right, so it looks like I was able to get it up to 20 miles per hour. If I had a little more runway on the road to pedal a little more, I probably could have pushed it to about 20.2, 20.4, but 20 is pretty much, seems to be the max speed on this bike, which is a bit of a shame because this is a 500 watt 48 volt e-bike, and typically on a bike with these kind of specs you should be able to get about 28 to 30 miles per hour top speed. But this one is locked in at a class 2, which tops out at 20 miles per hour. So you have some internal limiting going on. So hopefully at a future date, they'll update the app or something and let you unlock it to get class 3 speeds. Because it is a bit odd to sell someone a 500 watt motor, but limit it down to only give you less. That'll be like buying a car with 500 horsepower and then with an internal software, they limit it to like 300 horsepower. It kind of defeats the purpose of getting what you paid for. So really hopeful they'll push out an update at a future date so we can make this a class 3 bike. All right, so very interesting. Looks like this bike has the throttle limited to the pedal assist speed that's on the screen. So right now I'm pushing the throttle and it's only taking me at a maximum speed about 6 miles per hour. So I can't just floor it from pedal assist 1. I got to be in pedal assist 5 to get the top speed. So let's see, 6.5 on pedal assist 1, 6.3. Switch it up to pedal assist 2 with the throttle. Now it looks like it's getting us about 9.6 miles per hour average. Switch it up to number 3. Now we're getting about 13.6 to 13.8. Switch it up to number 4. Now we're getting about 16.8. All right, number 5, let's see the max speed on throttle. Looks like about 18.8. So a bit odd that you can't get the full 20 on throttle. Let's go ahead and try it on another road. See if there's maybe those slight incline over there. All right, pedal assist number 5, top speed once again. Yeah, so it looks like it's locked about 19 miles per hour. Right now I was able to hit 20, but there was a slight downhill, so that gave me a little extra push in front of the motor. So top speed on throttle, I would say it's about 19 miles per hour. All right, let's go ahead and try out these brakes. Definitely nice and smooth. They don't have a strong bite, so where you're gonna skid your back tire and drag along the road, but gives you a nice, smooth, gradual stop, which works perfectly with this kind of bike. Surprisingly, also very quiet as well. This is my first time riding this bike, and typically when you first get an e-bike, you might get a nasty grinding noise before you break in the brakes. This is nice and silent. Front suspension also works well. I don't feel a lot of bumps coming from the front, which is really good. Like I said earlier, I do feel some bumps traveling up the seat, but with the seat pull suspension, we can easily get that fixed, and this would be a nice, plush, and comfortable ride. One complaint I do have about this bike is, well, not this bike, but just this handlebars that I have here, is the way it's curved like this, it makes it a bit awkward to use the controls. These are nice and easy, but this one, the way they have it positioned, normally I just reach my thumb over and click it, but with this one, I have to do a weird, awkward kind of lift my whole hand to reach over there. And I can't really see or feel the buttons without actually looking at it. So I think it would have been a lot better if, just like this headlight switch, they had another switch, another 2 buttons here that had pedal assist down and pedal assist up. That would be a lot more natural with this bike. But looking at it now, this is the way this little controller came mounted. But I don't know if there's a pin in there or anything. I don't think there is. So I can probably just loosen this and turn it to face this way. And that'll be a lot more easier to use and feel a lot more natural. I looked at their website, and they also have it like this on their pictures as well. So I guess that's the way they intended it to be. But in my opinion, lined up, facing the same orientation like this is gonna work a lot better on this bike. I did not fully charge this bike. As you can see, I'm running low on battery here because it's supposed to be a real nasty snowfall tomorrow. And after tomorrow, here in Chicago, the temps are gonna drop below 20, 10, 15 degrees. And that's not a temperature I want to be bike riding in. So after this ride, I'm probably gonna store it away for the winter. It did get a little lower than I wanted it to be, so once I take it in the house, I'll probably charge it back up, because when you store away your e-bike for the winter, you want the battery to be somewhere around 30 to 70%. And this looks like, oh, it might be 30, but I don't like being on the lower end of that. I usually like to store it about 50 to 60% instead. I think on the website they say this bike is rated to have about a 50-mile range, and I would say on regular cruising speeds, that's pretty accurate. 15 amp hours is definitely a nice size battery though, and I think for most people that's more than enough. Personally, I like to ride pretty far, so I'm much happier with my 20 amp hour batteries. Or if it's a bike that has a 14 or 15 amp hour like this, I usually pick up a second battery so I can go on really long distance rides and not have to worry about my battery. Typically what I'll do in that situation is pretty much ride until my first battery is almost dead, stop, switch out the battery, and then I know 100% I have more than enough battery to make it home as well. Because, well, if I was able to drive off on one battery, clearly it'll be enough to make it home with the other. This is definitely a solid and good bike. Especially when you consider the price, it's gonna be hard to find any other bike that's gonna give you as much as this bike does without spending at least $400 to $800 more. At $1,500 or less, you're gonna be hard pressed to find a bike that compares to this one with the hydraulic brakes, the 500 watt motor, 15 amp hour battery, which is more than average for a bike in this class. Definitely very, very solid bike. All right, well, that about wraps up this video. As usual, if you have any questions at all, feel free to drop me a comment and let me know. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.